Oh, we are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button. Ring that notification bell. Share the video if you want to support this college football's rebel outpost, the National College Football YouTube channel, with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $sign where you make your comment, and I will get to Super Chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Hopefully the voice survives another live show with you college football sickos, with you PATC Einsteins. I'm also hoping we can populate a comment. We can do we can populate comments in the comments section. We could not do that yesterday. In fact, I could not bracket cat. I literally just finished watching yesterday's live show. It's like I never left. Thank you, Bracket Cat, for watching live show yesterday and coming on aboard for today's live show. So hopefully everything's working. Hopefully everything is working. Amy S79, greetings, college football sickos. Let's do a roll call real quick. Kay Struthers is in the house. Rod is here. Outlaw Skis, Breeze Frey, the Cornhusker, Skaven, yes. The Red Raider, the Big Lubbock, Michigan, the Wolverine Flint Dog, Healing, Florida, the Buckeye, Caleb Ramirez. Tumasta is in the house. Daniel Gorby is here. Rich Austin, the Utah Ute, the Sooner, Boomer Sooner, Bruce Harris is in the house. Holy Toledo. Preston from North Carolina. He says, nope, we're getting snatched. Nope, we are getting snatched. We'll go into that in a second. Karan Shakar. It was supposed to be larva, which may be a slug. Maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a zoologist. Bracket Cat is in the house. AMAC is here. VP Hokey, thanks for coming on in. I appreciate it. Jim Reese, thank you so much. Bimba 75, 79. I haven't watched a moment of the Olympics. Not a moment. I am way too busy with my 3 jobs. I am way too busy to watch the Olympics. I got my head on a swivel as much as I possibly can. I am working to the bone. I am working hard, and I have no time for the Olympics. John Hatfield is in the house. Osceola Trucker, thanks for coming on in. I appreciate it. A caterpillar is a typical what metamorphoses into a butterfly. Okay. Then I should have put well, whatever. I'm not going to change the artwork. I am not going to change the artwork. Troy's in the house. I got on the hockey game while now working and listening to Greg. Life is good. What's the score? Who's playing and what's the score? Is it Canada and the U.S.? Let me know. No, U.S. and Sweden. I have no idea. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what's going on. The Big 12 looks like a slug. Don't let numbskull see this. USA beats Sweden. All right. USA just made the semis. Congratulations to the United States of America. All right. Let's get to it, guys. We've got not a stack show. I'm not going to lie to you. We're not brimming over the cup. It's not a stack show. But I do want to talk about a couple of items real short, and then we're going to get to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is the ACC, the beautiful butterfly. The beautiful butterfly. They've got things going for them. They do. Great institutions, right? Some big brands. International markets. They might be set up great for the future. They might be. They probably are. But can they get to the future? Can they escape the nets of the SEC and the Big Ten? I am highly doubtful. Highly doubtful. Extremely doubtful. There's a couple of things that are working in the ACC's favor. There's a faction among the top brands of the ACC. There are factions in them that say, I don't want to join a national Big Ten conference. Don't want to do it. We're going to get lost in the mix. I don't want to join those nutsos of the Southeastern Conference. I want to stay where we are. There's nothing. Okay, we screwed up. The ACC screwed up. We put out our grant rights all the way to 2036. all the way to 2036. We screwed up. We've screwed up a few times here in ACC country, but we don't want to leave each other. Virginia doesn't want to leave North Carolina. North Carolina doesn't want to leave Virginia. Georgia Tech doesn't want to leave North Carolina. Virginia, Duke, North Carolina, Duke, North Carolina, Duke, North Carolina, Florida State, Miami. They have their natural rivalry. Virginia Tech, Virginia, Pittsburgh. I mean, we don't want to leave. We want to stay together. And the future might be ours if we just stay together. If we can just keep away from the nets of the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten. We are going to be going through an article written by Jimmy Williams. We went through an article of his last week. We're going to go through an article he wrote, published February 17th, yesterday. Very interesting article. There are parts of that article that I completely agree with, and it should be said, and it was said by Jimmy Williams. There are parts of that article that I would have to respectfully disagree, and that's fine. You're always going to have disagreements. But there are parts of that article that I think it was absolutely nailed by Jimmy Williams. There's like a catch-22. The ACC, there is some beauty in that butterfly. There is. And if they can survive all of this, if they can survive the Florida State and Clemson taking the conference in the courts, the butterfly might become a beautiful, powerful thing in 2036. But all of the butterfly, every single part of the butterfly, or if you want to say all the butterflies of the ACC, they've got to avoid getting caught up in the nets of the Southeastern Conference of the Big Ten. I don't think that's going to happen, but there are people that are rooting for it to happen. So we're going to go over all that. The article, very interesting article, and thank you all for joining us. I do appreciate it. We got Osceola Trucka. Osceola Trucka is in the house. A member, Peak Cloak and Dagger member for 14 months. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. The Osceola Trucker has been a member for 14 months. All the ACC big brands want out, Greg. You are officially knighted Cloak and Dagger, Osceola Trucker. Thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate you becoming a member for 14 months. Yeah, I think a lot of them do want out, or at least they can have that conversation now. And they have the ability to get out if they have an invitation waiting for them. If they just have to write a big old check, they got to file the notice of withdrawal, and the ACC has to accept that big old check. And I think the check now is $147 million to get out of the conference. 147. But I got to be honest with you. There are people in the North Carolina, Chapel Hill that don't want to leave. There are people at Virginia. There are definitely people at Georgia Tech. There's probably some at Florida State. Not a whole lot. The staying in the ACC faction at Florida State is a whole lot smaller than some of the other ACC original programs. Excuse me. Thank you, Osceola Trucker. I appreciate it. There's an argument to be made, and Jimmy Williams makes a very good argument that the future could very well belong to the ACC. Maybe not more than the Big Ten and the SEC, but the ACC could move up in the stature, in the power, because of there are some things that the ACC might be able to take advantage of in the oncoming years, in the future of this ever-changing college sports landscape. And I happen to agree with Jimmy Williams on just about everything he said when it came to that. There are parts of the article that, well, let me put it this way. I think if you sat Tony Petitti down in this office, in my studio, if you sat Tony Petitti down, if you sat Greg Sankey down, and you gave them the old, and we had them, I better not say that, we gave them a drink, and that drink made them talk the truth. What makes the ACC a very interesting conference in the future makes part of the ACC extremely enticing for the SEC's plans in the future and the Big Ten's plans in the future. What makes the ACC that butterfly is what the SEC and the Big Ten are attracted to. And I don't believe that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to let all those butterflies fly away into 2036. I don't believe it. Not for a moment. And we'll get into that as well. You can disagree. Put down your comments in the comments section. Super chat, supersede everything else. We'll get to your phone calls later on in the program. But first of all, there's a lot of this, couple of things I want to get to. A lot of people, a lot of national college football reporters, a lot of fans are in this cycle of complaining about the big brands, the big schools, the best football programs canceling their out-of-conference games, the big games, right? Now people are dumping on Texas. People have been dumping on the SEC teams, the Big Ten teams. People do not like that these big-time programs are canceling their out-of-conference games versus other big-time programs. I'm going to focus on the national reporters right now. They're having a fit over all this. They're the same reporters that mock any idea that solves the issue. That is what has got me all bugged out. I am perplexed. I know people don't want to I know you all don't want me to get up on my soapbox today and talk about the Army of 24. But my God, it solves the issue. The National College Football reporters out there, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible that Alabama and Ohio State might not play each other. This is terrible that Texas no longer wants to play. They're canceling the Arizona State game, and USC and Notre Dame. How dare they? How dare USC? This is terrible. Oh, what? Wait, what? 4-4-4-4-2-6. That's a horrible idea, Greg. That is ridiculous. J.D. Pickle, Josh Pate, Wasserman, Staples, McMurphy, all of them. This is a terrible idea. 4-4-4-4-2-6. Terrible. We can't go to 24. We definitely can't go to AQs of 4 each in the Power 4. It solves the it solves the issue. You're not going to get rid of the issue unless you create a system that encourages better out-of-conference games. And the only way you can create a system that encourages bigger out-of-conference games is to reward those teams that play them and win them, but not completely rip up the chances of the big-time teams that lose those games. And that is what a 4-4-4-4-2-6 absolutely does. It rewards the big out-of-conference game victories. And the teams that lose those games, they can still get a large bid, but they can finish in the top 4 of the conference and get an AQ bid. 2 bites of the apple playoff format. 2 bites of the apple playoff format solves the out-of-conference games issues completely. Now, when I say this, and I know a lot of you are yelling at me right now. You got your phone out. I might be on your TV set. I might be on your iPad. And you go, oh my God, the fat guy from Minnesota he's at it again. My goodness, he is miserable. What is he doing? Okay, take a time out. Time out from yelling at me for a second. Time out. Answer me this. Give me another solution. 2 bites of the apple format, playoff format. First of all, we need a large college football format, right? And we should have it for lots of different reasons, in my belief. You got to have a large enough at-large slots to make it to where you get motivated to play those big-time out-of-conference games. Win or lose. 2 bites of the apple. You have to have a large AQ. You have to have a large AQ spots for the Power 4. And then 6 at-large spots. There is no other solution. So when I'm sitting there, and I like Gary Wasserman and Andy Staples. I do. I really like them. I enjoy them. I enjoy all of them. Josh Pate, JD Pick, all these guys. But they're sitting and they're complaining about something. They're complaining about, oh, geez, who wants to play a tough out-of-conference schedule when you got to play a tough SEC schedule? Well, if you get the benefit of either doing great in one section or doing great in the other, both of them can work together. And it only happens in a 24-team playoff 4-4-4-4-2-6. That's it. That's the solution. But they're too busy mocking the solution. They don't have a solution on their own. They just want teams, for the good of the sport. For the good of the sport, they want Texas to still continue to play the Buckeyes. They want Alabama to complete playing the Buckeyes. They want USC to keep playing Notre Dame for the good of the sport, for the good of the fans. Baloney. These coaches, these athletic directors, the season tickets, they want to get to the playoffs. They're going to have to play their rivals. They're going to have to play some big-time teams in the conference schedule. They want to be rewarded. If they have a good season, they want to be rewarded. And going to the Blue Bonnet Bowl is not a big enough reward. Going to the Citrus Bowl is not a big enough reward. Going to the playoffs is now the reward. That's the reward. That's the world we live in. We're paying all these players. We're driving up the ticket prices. These boosters are putting out money. The media partners are putting out all this money. Amazon, Netflix, CBS, NBC, Fox, They want in. They want to show the playoff games. We've got a much larger sport than we had just 10 years ago. So we need a playoff format to support it. If you do not want out-of-conference games declining, if you don't want that to happen, 2 bites of the apple playoff format. That's the answer. It's the only answer that I know of. We've been doing this. We've been doing this for a long time now. I have not had an answer other than the 2 bites of the apple playoff format. I do not hear answers from these national reporters. I hear a lot of complaining. I hear a lot of crying. I hear a lot of bitching, but I don't hear any solutions. Are you telling me if we go back to a 14 playoff and 18, if we try the 18 playoff, that suddenly the out-of-conference games are going to get a whole lot better? No. The playoffs have to be large. And you got to be motivated to play the out-of-conference schedule. In other words, you need 6 at-large spots. You got to be motivated to play the out-of-conference schedule, because if you don't do good, then you have the conference race, the top 4 placement. And the better you do in both out-of-conference games and conference games, the higher seed you're going to have, and you can have a first-round bye, second-round home game, or a first-round home game. I'm off that soapbox. The other thing that I want to just quickly talk about before we get to the news of Northern Illinois losing the head football coach, and before we talk about the ACC beautiful butterfly, and I touched upon this yesterday and I think the day before, I'm starting to see this more and more and more. And I'm going to get off of this soapbox in just a minute. But I'm starting to see these comments over, and people are sending them to me. You know, there's people in the chat room right now that send me a lot of DMs. There are people that don't even enter the chat room that send me a lot of DMs. I've got family, I've got friends who send me a lot of DMs. I've got DMs coming out of my you-know-what, and I'm fine with that. They know what triggers me. My friends, the PATC Einsteins, they know what gets me going. So they send me this stuff to get me going, and it works, I'm seeing more and more comments that when people are talking about college football, anything to do with college football, but mostly off the field type of stuff, if you don't agree with me, you are in it for the clicks, you are in it for the views, you are in it just the whatever. If you don't agree with me, you're not a serious person. I'm seeing that over and over and over. Like, there's so many people out there that need to control the conversation. They need to put up parameters on what you can be able to talk about. If you don't agree with me, if you don't know that I'm a complete genius, how dare you bring up this so that you're just looking for clicks, you're looking for views, you're looking for whatever. How dare you? You see it over and over and over and over again. We don't do that on Peek Around the Corner. The comments come in, we put up the comments, super chats, we put them all up. We've got phone calls, and when you call, you have absolute control. We do not limit people's subjects and when they call. I might be putting out a whole bunch of Golden Gopher propaganda. If you want to call me up and talk about the Fighting Illini propaganda, go ahead, go for it, go for it, go for it. If you want to completely disagree, we have those calls all the time. But man, some of these message boards, people are sending me stuff going, get a load of this, get a load of it. People are actually saying, look, there's a serious way to talk about this. And that is, you have to agree with that, what I say. And there's an unserious way to talk about this. In other words, if you agree with that fat guy from Minnesota, if you even listen to him, oh my God, you're not serious. You see that over and over and over and over again. And they happen to be by the same people who needed to control the subjects that we talked about at PATC. And then they needed to control another college football YouTube channel. And they need to control their X account. They need to control every single thing around them. Don't question them. You know what, guys and gals? Question everything. Question everything that I say. Here at College Football Peek Around the Corner, just like in the Los Angeles Times article, I am an absolute nobody. We take what we do here seriously, but I do not take myself seriously. We take what we report, we take what we even speculate seriously, but we do not take ourselves seriously. I am the re-elected mayor of Loserville City. All right? I think I've proven that point over and over and over again. I just want, now I'm off that soapbox. Now I'm off that soapbox. Okay. Okay, let's get to Northern Illinois here. This is, my goodness. My goodness. My goodness. Let's get to a super chat first. I'm a little depressed for Northern Illinois. This one hit me hard. This one really hit me hard. Christopher Hooter, we underestimate time and travel burden associated with national conferences. Not just to schools and athletes, but the fans. Most ACC would prefer the Southeastern Conference. Most would. Yep, I agree with them. Most would. Most ACC fans, their institutions, there's some faculties that would rather be a part of the Big Ten, but I agree with Christopher Hooter. Thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciated, LSU Tiger. We've got another super chat. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Appreciate it, my friend. I agree. And then we got the other opposite end of that discussion. The Southeastern Conference fans underestimate the size of the Big Ten alumni bases and the desire to travel. Badgers purposely booked Hawaii for years. Why? It's cold after September. October is beautiful. Look, Minnesota's colder than Wisconsin. All right? First of all, let's get that. Don't look at a flat map. Look at a globe. Look at a globe. Minnesota is much closer. Even though Wisconsin is just to the east of us, Minnesota, northern Minnesota is closer to the Arctic. If you look at the globe, the United States is actually like this, like a Christmas tree, and we're at the top of the Christmas tree. If you look at the latitude lines around the globe, Minnesota is a lot deeper. We are a valley. Wisconsin's big hills. Minnesota's, what do you call that? Topography, whatever you call that. A lot more lakes, a lot more water, a lot more frozen lakes. Minnesota is colder than Wisconsin. October is beautiful in Minnesota. It's absolutely gorgeous. And the maroon and gold colors go great. The stadium, The leaves, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I think the Badgers book Hawaii so they can get a win. So they can get a win. You don't see the Badgers playing North Dakota State Bison. You don't see Minnesota doing that anymore either, though. Thank you for the $5 holler. Thank you, Heartbreak 25. Thank you, Christopher Hura. Thank you, Asio Trucker. Appreciate it. Appreciate it so very much. Santa Claus lives south of Minnesota. So Santa Claus lives in Toronto. Toronto is south of Minnesota. All right. Thank you, Heartbreak 25. Thank you, Amy. This is a great channel because many opinions are welcome and the chat is not too hateful. It should not be hateful at all. It should be friendly elbows being thrown. Beyond that, should not happen. Ryan Brooks is stopping by. Appreciate it. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. I thought the earth was flat. No, that was just my jump shot in high school. Preston from North Carolina. That was just my jump shot in high school. Okay. Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois head coach Thomas Hammock is leaving for an administrative offensive assistant role with the Seattle Seahawks. That, man, this is brutal timing. Absolutely brutal. Brutal. Brett McMurphy, defensive coordinator Rob Harley, will be the Huskies' interim coach in their inaugural season in the Mountain West. Northern Illinois going to the Mountain West as a football-only member. It's a jump. It's a jump. Loses their head coach in February. Not in December, not in January. They lose their head coach in February. Absolutely brutal. And that's not it. That's not the end of the brutality. Pete Knuckles reminds us all. Northern Illinois players will have a 15-day transfer portal window opening up 5 days after the next head coach is announced and hired. So, there might be top Northern Illinois players, there might be a few of them, that may hit the transfer portal if they get an opportunity, if their agent gets a call. Just brutal timing. Absolutely brutal timing for Northern Illinois. I think about it. February, they lose their head coach, and they're going to the Mountain West Conference. And they lose their leader. I mean, sometimes life is not fair. That's not fair. But anyways, let's get to the butterflies. Let's get to the butterflies, the ACC. Can they take flight? Can they make it to 2036 before being caught by the SEC and the Big Ten Nets? Is that a possibility? Is that a possibility? Super Chat, Heartbreak 25. We're going to get to the big story next. I'm from Wisconsin, Heartbreak 25, and live in Chicago. They booked the West Coast away games intentionally instead of easy home wins. Alumnus over 60 years demanded it. Snowbirds. Interesting. I had not heard that. I did not hear that theory. Thank you, Heartbreak 25. Appreciate it. Appreciate the $5 holler. Appreciate your generosity. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. All right. Butterflies, ACC. Let's go to Jimmy Williams. Published an article February 17th. Why venture capital sees the ACC as the smartest pre-2031 bet for a post-2036 global payoff. Now, this is, again, I agree with large parts of this article. Large parts of it. Some I disagree with, and I'll talk about that as well. But Jimmy Williams touches upon something that a lot of people are not touching upon. And that is the college sports space is going to go global. There's going to be an attempt. Some of it's going to succeed. Some of it's not going to succeed. And there are ACC institutions that are primed to help a global payoff for the conference that they are in. Venture capital groups do not invest in the present. They invest in the next cycle. So the challenges facing the ACC do not scare them. They see a league with unmatched academic power, international reach, and a coast-to-coast footprint. They see a conference that can grow into a global streaming property once its rights hit in the market in 2036. They see undervalued assets that can scale when the media landscape shifts away from cable. A lot of this I agree. Thank you, OPD Don, for your massive super chat. I'll get to that when I'm done with the article. Thank you, OPD Don, for your incredible generosity. Thank you so very much, sir. I'm going to get a lot of people upset with me today, but I agree with a lot of this. Potentially, they've got great international reach. I think some of their assets are undervalued. It could grow into a global streaming property once its rights hits the market in 2036. The Big Ten and the SEC already sit at the top of the market. Their rights are fully priced. I don't agree with that. Their brands are mature. Their growth curve is flatter. I do not agree with that. VC firms want upside. The ACC offers that upside. The ACC's global appeal drives long-term value. The ACC schools attract international students at levels that the Big 12 cannot match. True. They run global research partnerships that the SEC does not emphasize. True. They operate academic networks that stretch across Europe, Asia, Africa, Latin America. That reach creates a worldwide audience that streamers want. I think a lot of that is absolutely true. The ACC Olympic sports roster adds another layer. Stanford, Cal, Duke, SMU, USF. Now, USF is not in the ACC. Jimmy Williams is a proponent of USF going to the ACC, and others field teams loaded with international athletes. That is absolutely 100% true. Fans overseas follow those athletes through streaming platforms. That creates year-round global engagement. The Big Ten has strong Olympic sports, but the ACC's coastal footprint and academic identity give it a broader international pull. That might be true. It's close. But again, I do not want to put cold water on what Jimmy Williams is saying here. Because A lot of it I agree with. I just happen to agree with it. A lot of you might not, but I happen to agree with it. There is potential for international markets to wake up to the college sports world. Streamers want global brands, not just domestic ratings. Amazon, Apple, YouTube, DAZN want content that travels. They want events that fit multiple time zones. They want schools with global alumni networks. The ACC delivers all of that. It's East Coast, West Coast windows. Give streamers a full day schedule. Its academic profile attracts high-income viewers. Its Olympic sports create daily content. The Big 12 offers strong football, but limited global reach. The SEC dominates domestic ratings, but does not carry the same international footprint. The Big 10 has global appeal, but its rights are locked up for years. I don't understand that. The Big 10 is going to go to market way before the ACC is. The ACC becomes the last major national property available before 2040, and I don't even know if I agree with that. It depends on the length of the Big Ten's next media deal in 2030-31. But most of this I agree with. The post-2036 cycle rewards the ACC structure. Vulture capital firms see the ACC as the only conference positioned to reinvent itself in the next rights cycle. I don't agree with that. They see a league that can build a hybrid model with linear partner and a global streaming anchor. I think the Southeastern Conference, the Big 10, and the Big 12 can all do that. They see a conference that can sell football, basketball, and Olympic sports as a unified digital package. Not until 2036. They see a property that can grow faster than the Big 12 and offer more global upside than the SEC. And finally, in the article, investors believe the ACC's international reach, academic strength, and coast-to-coast footprint will pay off once the post-2036 media world arrives. They see the ACC not as a league fighting to survive, but as a league preparing to lead the next era of college sports distribution. He's talking about how do I put this? Venture capital, that's perception of venture capital about the ACC, and that's what Jimmy Williams is talking about. First of all, before I get to my comments, a lot of it I agree with. Some of it I disagree with. But I've got stuff to say about it, all right? So buckle up, brace for impact. OBD done, massive super chat. OBD done. Shh. Don't tell the Godfather this, but it's a secret super chat because I'm saving for a boatload of matches so I can burn up all these soapboxes that were on lately. But rant away, sir, as you and Numbskull crack me up on all your rants. Love them. Yeah, Numbskull is elite. He's very elite. Thank you, OPD Don. Appreciate the $50 holler, massive super chat. Thank you, very kind, sir. I appreciate it. And again, I love your very creative writing, creative super chats. I love creative super chats, ladies and gentlemen. More creative, the better. We've got a super chat from the Evil Badger, Ryan Willie. Uh-oh. I got some heat flowing back to me here. The Badger has spoken. Great. Just for the Hawaii comment, I can't wait until Wisconsin crushes Minnesota. Then you'll need to sing on Wisconsin. Should I buy earplugs? No, you should not buy earplugs. You know this, Evil Badger. Everybody in the chat room knows when I do a PATC rendition or when I sing a fight song of a team that wins with a kind contribution to the channel, if that team's an underdog and they go win their game, I sing the most beautiful fight songs in all of college football YouTube channels. Nobody should put an earplug in their ears when I sing. Now, you might have to get the dog out of the house, the children, you might have to have a neighbor watch them for a while, but nobody in the PATC family puts earplugs in when I sing. That is a requirement. No earplugs. Thank you, Eva Badger. Thank you for the $5 holler. Thank you for your generosity and for your friendship. Thank you, very kind, sir. Appreciate it. So back to Jimmy Williams. So there's a lot I agree with. And I've been kind of saying this for quite a while now. We're going through a lot of change in college sports. On this channel, we focus on college football. We have been reporting to you all that the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC and the Big 10, they're going to go after these markets. I believe that the Big 10 and the SEC and most likely the ACC and the Big 12 are going to include a big streaming partner in their next media negotiations to help them land international markets. All this stuff. We've talked about it ad nauseum. The ACC has some institutions that are going to be set up well for this future. International students, a more diverse student population. They have certain inroads into international markets. The ACC is they've got a lot of strengths. Jimmy Williams is absolutely correct on pretty much everything he said when it came to the ACC strength. However, and there is a however, everything Jimmy Williams said in that article Greg Sankey's going like this. Yeah, we know that. Everything Jimmy Williams said in that article about the ACC's potential future strength, Tony Petitti is nodding his head. Yep. Yeah, we know that. The question is not if the ACC's butterflies can grow bigger and stronger and be more beautiful in a post-2036 college sports world. The question is, are they going to be able to avoid the netting of the Big Ten and the SEC before we get to 2036? That's the question. The Southeastern Conference, They want to increase their footprint. They're going to be looking at international markets. They want the state of North Carolina. They want that disposable income. They want those growing states. They want those international brands, and they want all the inroads that some of the top ACC schools have in international markets and domestically. See, the Southeastern Conference knows that about the ACC. The Southeastern Conference wants to diversify themselves. Yeah, you heard that correctly. The Southeastern Conference wants to diversify themselves. The Big Ten, they want some of those ACC institutions for the same reasons and for domestic reasons. The Big Ten and the SEC know about the strengths of the ACC, future strength. But let's not get it twisted. What I disagree in this article, respectively, is the ACC doesn't. They don't come up next for media negotiations. They don't have the flexibility. They are trying to survive. I don't know about venture capital. I don't know about this statement here about venture capital. All right? I don't know about this. They see the ACC not as a league fighting to survive, but as a league preparing to lead the next era of college sports distribution. I tell you what, the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten do not look at the ACC that way. Maybe venture capital does, and that's what Jimmy Williams is talking about here. But the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference aren't looking at it that way. They look at the ACC is fighting to survive. Florida State and Clemson just had a massive victory in the courts versus the ACC. Now, there's this old saying, the spoils go to the winners, right? The winners, they haven't gotten their spoils yet. They haven't received their trophy yet when it comes to that massive victory. But it was a massive victory. Again, people like to... historically, that has never been done before. I'll give you an example. When the Big Ten expanded with USC and UCLA, now when people think of it, they say, oh, well, yeah, okay, I understand that, blah, blah, blah. But 95% of the college sport fans and reporters that was crazy because there's been no conference like the Big Ten would go across the country and grab a USC. That it was not a continuous state, right? But now people look at it and say, no big deal. Now people are starting to look at Florida State and Clemson's victory as no big deal. No. It was a big bleeping deal. Because what happened was it did not destroy the gore. It did not destroy the concept of the gore being ironclad, but it created an exit hatch out of the gore that the ACC has to accept. I think people I can see it. Now, I'm just giving you my opinion. Let me know when you disagree. But I think people are forgetting the massive victory of Florida State and Clemson. I think people are already starting to downplay it. Ladies and gentlemen, ESPN does not have to go back to the negotiation table with the ACC media rights until 2036. That's just the truth. The Big 12, they get to renegotiate in a few years from now. The Big 10 in a few years from now. And the SEC, they right now it's scheduled for 2034, but I'm going to tell you something. We ain't getting to 2034 without ESPN ripping open that contract with the Southeastern Conference, because the Southeastern Conference is going to expand before 2034. So the ACC, even though they are a beautiful butterfly, and even though they have all these strengths that Jimmy Williams did a great job in the article, they are surviving. They're trying to survive as a conference. Within the conference, as we have reported to you all, there are factions in every big-time program in the ACC that wants to keep the conference together. There is a political tie-in with Georgia Tech in Virginia. There's political tie-ins with Clemson in North Carolina, and there's a faction in North Carolina that wants North Carolina to stay in the ACC, to keep playing North Carolina State as a conference mate, to keep playing Duke as a conference mate, to keep playing Wake Forest as a conference mate. So there's an internal battle trying to get the ACC to survive. But they're fighting for survival. Because the SEC and the Big Ten, they recognize the strengths of many of these ACC institutions. They believe they are undervalued. They're undervalued because the ACC can't go up and negotiate a new contract. But the Big Ten is going to be doing that in a couple years from now. The Big 12 is going to be doing that in a couple years from now. We've got the student apocalypse happening. Southeastern Conference completely recognizes that issue. The Big Ten completely recognizes that issue. The Big 12 is sitting there holding off on other potential moves as Brett Yormark is sitting there like a vulture, ready to potentially expand his conference with undervalued ACC institutions, much like he did with the Pac-12. So the ACC is this beautiful butterfly, but because it's a beautiful butterfly, and the SEC and the Big Ten's got time to net them, well, the ACC, I don't think they're going to be able to survive as they are. Don't see it happening because of the strengths that Jimmy Williams just talked about. There is this one massive issue. When people talk about the elephant in the room, there is this one massive elephant in the room besides the fat guy from Minnesota. There is this one plane that is circling around and around and around and around, and it has been refueled about 15 different times, and it hasn't landed yet. But when it lands, either landing gracefully or crash landing, but when that plane comes out of the air, all bets are off. And that plane is the SCORE Act. If that SCORE Act gracefully lands, in other words, there's a miracle that happens, the House and the Senate get together, compromise bill, they get it passed, parts of the NCAA versus House gets codified, there's some antitrust protections, There's some legitimacy when it comes to the Power Four and the FBS to be able to insert their own rules, enforce their own rules. The Southeastern Conference doesn't go in its own silo. If the plane gracefully lands, when it gracefully lands, then the Southeastern Conference is going to be thinking about its future. The Big Ten is going to be thinking about its future. Big time. If the plane crashes, if there's no codification, if nothing happens, and if the SEC goes silo, or if they don't go silo, but the plane crashes because the SCORE Act doesn't happen, same thing, man. Possibly even more severe. More extreme outcomes are possible. The SEC is going to go their own way. Maybe not a breakaway, but they're going to think about themselves. And the Big Ten completely. And the Big 12 are going to be sitting there waiting to see what happens. The elephant in the reason why the pause button has been pushed is because the elephant is sitting on it. The plane keeps circling. It hasn't landed. It hasn't crash landed. By the end of 2026, we're going to know if it landed or we're going to know it crash landed. Either way, the possibilities grow in what's about to happen next. And as I have reported to you all, people in Chapel Hill believe that North Carolina is going to know their future status on or before June 1st, 2027. Either a reimagined ACC or they're going to do something different. They're going to realign themselves with the SEC, long shot Big Ten, but something is going to happen. Everybody is waiting for that plane to land or crash. Notre Dame is waiting. Greg Sankey is waiting. The Georgia president is waiting. Michael Alford is waiting. Tony Petitti is waiting. Ted Kotet is waiting. Amazon is waiting. Everybody's waiting. But that SCORE Act, the resolution, either it happens or it doesn't happen, my goodness, that is going to be a huge event. And when that event is done with, and depending on how it goes, then we're going to get the next wave of change in college sports. Because Jimmy Williams is correct. Many parts of the ACC are very strong for the future of college sports. Many institutions. But the question is, can the ACC butterfly not get snatched by the Big Ten and SEC nets before 2036? That is 10 years, ladies and gentlemen. 10 years. You've seen how much movement there's been just in the last few years? When is the last time that we've had nothing happen? There are things happening all the time. All the time. And now we see this financial gap growing. And there's institutions in the ACC that are wanted. There are people out there that truly believe that nothing's going to happen for a while, that maybe nothing is ever going to happen, and maybe this is the time where everything settles. I cannot possibly believe that. The chatter behind the curtain, everyone's talking. There's a positioning going on. There's cloak and dagger going on. Nobody can move. There's nothing imminent because it's not really possible at this time. Nobody wants to upset the apple cart at this very sensitive time when it comes to the Senate and the House and all these FBS conferences working together. It's not happening right now. It's completely off the table from what I can gather. And we've been reporting that same thing for month after month after month. But when that big event happens, the codification or not the codification of the NCAA versus the House, when that happens, all bets are off. Jimmy Williams is correct in saying that there are ACC schools that are undervalued and there's a lot of strength in there, but the Big Ten and the SEC know that. And I don't buy for a second. I'm sorry. I don't buy for a second that the Big Ten and the SEC don't act on that. They know what Jimmy knows. They know what I know. They know what you know. And that's why they're going to act on it. And the Big 12, who is the larva in this, they're not going to be caught by a net. Not at this time. Not at this time. But Brett Yormark, the Big 12 is working on a private capital deal. Let me show you guys something here. I put up this poll earlier today. Does the Big 12 $500 million private capital partnership with Redbird Capital Partners and Weatherford Capital come to fruition? We will all find out soon enough. Let me know what you think. Does the deal get finalized before July 1st, 2026? Yes? No? Delayed? 36% say yes, it gets done before July 1st. No, 28%. 35% neither. Deal is delayed. So there's a big split among those three options in that poll. But the Big 12, Brett Yormark, is working towards that deal, right? We know that there are ACC schools that would love to have the option of that deal. But it's much more difficult for the ACC to get aligned on anything, right? Versus the Big 12. We know that the Big 12 has turned down a couple of $100 million of Memphis money to join the conference. We know that there are institutions like USF knocking on the door to get to the Big 12. UConn trying to get into the Big 12. But the Big 12, Brett Yormark, is waiting there silently. They might be the larva, but they're waiting silently to grow their own butterflies when the ACC gets snatched up by the netting. And then you got the college football playoff negotiations or non-negotiations at this point. That is gasoline on the fire. That is gasoline on the fire. Not being able to get together, not being able to agree, both being entrenched in their positions, the SEC and the Big Ten. If the SEC goes alone, if they go silo, if they do that, and I don't think that's the chalk. I don't think that's the chalk. But if they go silo, you don't think they're going to go, they're going to throw everything they can at North Carolina, out of Virginia, and some other institutions out there. Because they're going to have to expand. So, buckle up, get ready. We're going to find out if that SCORE Act gets passed before the November elections. We're probably going to find out in the summer at some point, right? Right? And no matter how it goes, whenever we know the results, all bets are off. We're going to get to your phone calls right now. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. I want to thank Eva Badger, OPD Dunn, Heartbreak 25, Christopher Hooter, Osceola Trucker for your generous donations. Let's get to the phone lines. Talk about Thomas Hammock, Northern Illinois head coach, leaving to go to the Seattle Seahawks. Northern Illinois is going to be promoting their defensive coordinator, but their players are going to be able to go in the portal here in a couple of weeks. Massive, massive news for Northern Illinois as they are going into the Mountain West Conference as a football-only school team. Wow. Big news. Head coach leaves Northern Illinois. The phone line, 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333.
From
Rick is on the line. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks. Busy show yesterday, so I wasn't able to get through.
And I wasn't feeling very good, so I couldn't really hang on the lines, but I apologize for that. But go ahead, sir.
No worries at all. But I did want to touch base with one thing that one thing I thought might be the elephant in the room yesterday, and that's ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
I really truly believe that the SEC and specifically Greg Sankey doesn't do anything unless ESPN gives them their approval. And they would rather keep 12 playoff games than surrender to their competition.
That might be the case. That very well might be true.
Because sometimes it's better if you have all of it, even though it's costing you money by not growing. It's almost like Coke and Pepsi. They have all the Coke machines, and they may be able to get a few more Coke machines in the buildings, but they're going to have to put in a whole lot of other Pepsi machines. And I don't think they want it, and I think the SEC is willing to grow it to 16 or maybe even 24, but ESPN won't let them. And if that's the case, that says a lot about the state of college football.
Yeah. Now, do you think what do you think ESPN's position is on a possible breakaway in football by the SEC?
You'd have to game it out and do the accounting. The key is the accounting. Are they going to make more money? ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would be yes, but at what cost? How much will their competition make?
Yep. Yeah, yep. Go ahead.
No, that's it. Talk to you later.
Got it. Appreciate it, Rick. Thank you very much. Great call. Thank you, Rick. Great call. Every day I'm hoping and I'm praying
from
Edward the Auburn Tiger.
Edward, the Auburn Tiger. Thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg.
How you doing,
Great show.
sir?
You always do great. Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting off this. I had a little bit of a cold a couple days ago. I'm getting better. But how are you doing, sir?
Likewise, like you, but I'm getting better as well.
Good.
And I want to tell you before I get started that listen, you run a class act show. Keep up the good work. You're fair. You're honest. You have passion about it, and you care about the people that call.
I
So we
appreciate it, sir.
you.
Thank you for
and
those
all that you
kind
do.
words.
And I totally agree with the last caller. And there was a caller that called yesterday. He was right on the money as well. You remember when Oklahoma and Texas joined the SEC,
Yes, sir.
and you had the 3-league agreement between ACC, Pac-12, and Big Ten.
The alliance, baby. The alliance.
The alliance, yes, sir. Their alliance, and so their job was to block, I guess, somewhat any more movement or any other things that may happen for the SEC and the rest of college football. And so that happened that summer, and it translates to about March. The AD of Ohio State, they still had that alignment talking, and they interviewed him. He's retired now. I forgot his name. And he made a statement that I believe kind of personifies where college football is going. He said, why would we join leagues or join agreements with the Pac-12 when our media and our value is a lot more expensive than theirs, more money than theirs. I'm paraphrasing what he said. Mm-hmm. But notice what he said. He said, in other words, why are we going to join someone else when we are a standalone league by ourselves? We're the Big Ten, And so fast forward, you have the agreement with SEC, Big Ten, everything is going wonderful. Last year, May comes around, spring meetings are coming. Big Ten is assuming that the SEC is going to sign off on the 16-team playoff, the 4-4, 2-2, 1-1, I guess what it was. And then something happened. I mean, I'm an SEC man. I was surprised of how the SEC reneged on the deal. I'm an SEC guy saying that. Mm-hmm. And I think the whole college world was. And I believe, Greg, that the SEC had an epiphany like the Ohio State AD did. They know that the more the college football playoff grows, it's going to grow everybody's value, especially the Big Tens. It's going to grow it. No doubt about it. And I believe that as the uncertainty of the college football industry, things not maybe going according to plan, opportunities that maybe we're not aware of, but maybe you are concerning the media landscape. But something made them change their decision. I'm not going to say completely, because even after they reneged on the Big Ten, they still, as an olive branch, tried to go to 9 games. So they did that. Mm-hmm. Maybe being reassured that this time around, when the college football playoff expansion came about, everybody will be on the same page. But this time, Big Ten reneges.
Yeah.
They reneged. And I believe that, Greg, has pushed the SEC in conversations that has begun years ago, in a mindset that, like the AD, we are the SEC. We can stand alone on our own. They're looking at, everyone's not buying into the legal matters when it comes to NIL and how they're, protecting the game with the rules. You've been telling us all that so wonderfully, putting it out there. Appreciate what you do. They're just, the conversations down here in SEC country is silo is sounding better every day. And the fact that the SEC and ESPN is sandbagging on the college football playoffs. Mm. They're not doing anything. They're not saying anything other than some of the things I just stated.
Yeah.
And I put it in the text.
Yes,
They
sir.
are pulling in Oklahoma, Texas, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington move. What happened when those teams did not want to be involved in the realignment process? What happened? They bolted. They made decisions for themselves. They ghosted their colleagues, if I could say it that way. And I believe, based on what you've been saying and other people are saying in the industry, and based on what's happening with the NFL is about the NFL. And I don't know how much you've talked about it. I know it's a big elephant in the room. There's a tsunami coming. They're going to eat up all the oxygen when it comes to the media outlets. It's going to be every league for itself. It just really is. It's going to force the industry to change. It is forcing consolidation. That's the key word I hear right now is consolidation, consolidation, and
Yep.
consolidation.
Yep. Yep.
And you asked the gentleman before me a powerful question. What does ESPN get out of it? All the networks want consolidation. They want it. They want the highest value with the most controlled number of inventories. What they want. They want to maximize their potential in every entity they own. That's consolidation. And I believe it's going to turn the board upside down. And whoever makes it above that, I believe it's forced the SEC to really drop hands with the Big Ten. I'm not saying it won't be in the future. Mm-hmm. But when the SEC went 9 games and Big Ten reneged on them, and they're already having the NIL situation like it is, and yes, the caller's right. The SEC is going to protect the SEC. They know that if they sign off on more college football playoff expansion, and they do these things, that they can lose the value of their own brand, just like USC knew, UCLA, Oklahoma, Texas, and so forth and so on. I believe the longer this go, Greg, and I'm going to get off the phone, the more it's going to be at a stage in terms of the SEC silo that they're not going to be able to turn around on it. Because they're gaming out the ACC expansion for other teams. The landscape is mirroring what they want. You said international exposure, the student apocalypse, the NIL situation in terms of being their own league, be able to control your own rules, the own way your conference does business. Everything seems to be a plus, plus, plus when it comes to the silo, and less headaches when it comes to everything else. I'm going to get off the phone. Appreciate what you do, Greg. I would love to hear your response to all that.
I appreciate it. Beautiful call, Edward the Auburn Tiger. Thank you so much. Call again, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and Edward the Auburn Tiger comes at it from a Southeastern Conference Auburn perspective, and I think a lot of that is true. That's why I say, I don't think we did a live show yesterday in which the title screen was staying at 12, CFP 12 team is a dangerous game. I think we're only going to get more entrenched. I think there's a chance of silos and breakaways increase if we stay at 12. Because I just think that's going to get more. I think then it's going to become trench warfare. I think they're digging their trenches. The Big Ten's digging their trenches. The SEC is. And I think if we continue at 12, if we don't get a compromise, if we don't get something done between these two conferences, then everything that Edward the Auburn Tigers says, I think is going to be turned out to be true. I forgot to ask Edward, if you've got any time, Edward the Auburn Tiger, put in the chat. Perry Thompson, wide receiver, 5-star recruit a couple years ago, played a couple of years at Auburn, had about 15 catches this year, played behind Singleton and Cam Coleman. Perry Thompson transfers to Minnesota. He's got some pretty good measurements. The Gophers are hoping that he can slide in at number 3, wide receiver number 3 on the outside. Edward the Auburn Tiger, what is the scouting report on wide receiver Perry Thompson? Because he's going to be wearing the maroon and gold. And on April 25th, spring football game, Huntington Bank Stadium, Gopher propaganda. I'm going to be watching Perry Thompson. All right, thank you so much, Edward the Auburn Tiger. Appreciate it. Phone lines are open, 763-260-1333. I appreciate everybody joining us here. We've got about 150 people, loving every minute of it. Give me a call, 763-260-1333. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel. Ring that notification bell, even though it doesn't work all the time. Ring that notification bell. Keep your head on a swivel. We can come on live at any time. If there's breaking news tonight, we're going to be on. If there's breaking news tomorrow morning, we'll have a live breakfast show here at PATC Studios. So keep your head on a swivel. Subscribe, get yourself notified, smash the like button if you've liked our content. If you have not liked our content today, for any reason, if you do not like the artwork of the butterfly representing ACC or the larva representing the Big 12, if you do not like that, give me the thumbs down button. Smash the thumbs down button. I would appreciate it. Thank you guys so very much. Edward the Auburn Tiger, he has a lot of potential. He needs confidence and belief surrounding him. He will do great at Minnesota. Well, PJ Fleck did not re-sign his longtime wide receiver coach, Matt Simon. Since 2019, the Gophers' development of their wide receivers hasn't been great. It has not been great. So hopefully we've got Isaac Fruity, who's a former Minnesota Golden Gopher wide receiver, great wide receiver. He's coached at a bunch of different places. New wide receiver coach. Hopefully that works out, but it hasn't been good lately. Tom DeBay, Disney shareholders just want ESPN to be more profitable. Friends call me Sean. Assume the Southeastern Conference, like North Carolina, Virginia Tech. Big Ten gets Miami, Georgia Tech, Virginia, and Utah. Is there enough brands to put a financially competitive conference together? Yes, there is. I do not foresee both Florida State and Clemson being available after the next wave of realignment for that third conference. But if they're both available, definitely. But I don't think they're both going to be available for that third conference. We shall see. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm. Thank you, Don Scruggs. Appreciate it. My question is, Solar Knoll, thanks for coming on in. My question is, does the Warner Brothers, Netflix, and now possible Peacock Paramount merger need to get done first? I don't think they need to get done first. But man, whatever happens there, that's another gigantic variable that is going to affect college football, college sports.
Call from
Jose, fight on.
Jose, can you just hold on for a minute? I just want to finish up Solar Knoll. Whatever happens, we're talking about economic consolidation when it comes to college sports. What is starting with the media companies, more consolidation, right? Netflix is trying to nab on to Warner Brothers. Paramount hasn't given up that fight yet. I guess there's going to be another rebid, or so, I can't even keep up with it anymore. Paramount is willing to pay for the cost of Warner Brothers Discovery to get out of this preliminary deal with Netflix. Paramount wants Warner Brothers Discovery. Netflix wants Warner Brothers Discovery. More and more consolidation, and that's going to affect the college sports world. Thank you, Fight On, Jose. Thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think that last time I had called Gopher Godfather, we were looking for a defensive coordinator, and Wake Martindale had just become available, and he was interviewed, but we ended up going with Gary Patterson.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. I mean, he's 66. He was working. He's been out of the game for a little bit, working as an analyst and consultant, and then just relaxing at home. But we'll see how it goes. The first thing I liked about him is that everyone's going to compete for a starting job. I don't know what Lynn was doing, and maybe he's going to pull some of that at Penn State. I don't know if they're aware, but apparently he had already ordained who the starters were going to be, and there was really not much competition, which is just mind-blowing in this day and age that you don't compete for a starting job. But yeah, we'll see how Gary Patterson does, and it's definitely an upgrade. Without a doubt. What I was thinking about, and I put it in the chat earlier, and I know ESPN loves their committee because they get, advertisement from Saturday, Sunday, Monday up until Tuesday night. And I'm sure they love those ratings Tuesday night as the suits are in the boardroom consulting and, behind locked doors. But in this day and age with, if we could bring back computers and AI and have real-time updates at the end of every quarter of every game, we could see, Oregon is trailing Rutgers right now at home. Their third down efficiency is, 20%. Right now, if the game ended right now, they would drop from number 5 to number 8. Just every quarter updated real time as the games go on. There's no waiting 3 days after the last whistle on a Saturday, having to wait till Tuesday to find out where the teams all fall out and where they all shake out to in the rankings ultimately. We have the technology, and I think that would, just bring an element of excitement and realism, and you could see exactly how your team is performing. Are they winning? Are they losing? Do they need to maybe run up the score a little bit? We should know what the computers take into consideration, whether it's, defensive scoring. Maybe we put more weight on shutting out your opponent is weighted more heavily than having to run up the score on offense. I think Nate Baumer had also said that he would like more emphasis on defense as opposed to offense. But that's just something that we could do in this day and age. But as long as ESPN has that stranglehold, I think we're stuck with the committee until 2031 or whenever it is. I don't even think they're up to giving up their Tuesday night ratings for their selection committee reveal show.
Yeah, I find it interesting. There has been some discussion, some talks about what, and I think the example was Amazon. What Amazon is going to be doing for sports, their broadcasting of sport content. They're going to get into where if the game's going on, if you want information, if you want really deep analysis of the statistics in the game, you can pop that up on your screen at any time. And I'm not talking about what you're talking about, like how it affects the polls and all that stuff. I'm talking about the game itself. They're going to give you different views, supposedly in the future. They're going to be developing this with the NFL. They're going how many miles has your guy ran during the football game already, or just everything. And it's going to change how sports is broadcasted, distributed to people. And Amazon's going to lead the way on that, supposedly. So that's kind of interesting. It isn't quite correlate to what you're saying, but, technology, I think we're going to see a big leap in how sports is distributed to all of us.
Yeah, and you know, we all love the polls, and I think, you know, when I was explaining this to my wife early on before we even got married, when we were dating, I was explaining to her, you know, this is college football is unique and where it has the polls and it's different than the NFL. But I think it's kind of become a little antiquated as to how we're going about and seeding teams in the polls. I really like the BCS computers that we had, and I think it got a bad shake because at the time it was only two teams that it was selected the top two.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, just like the FCS and NCAA hockey, it's almost you have to go to computers. There's no way that human beings who inherently will have a bias cannot look at. I mean, unless you tell them team A, team B, team C, and you strip away the brand, the helmet logo, and they don't know what team they're looking at. They can't arbitrarily look at statistics and you know, fairly look at comparing teams without having some sort of bias. But computers, as long as maybe you have someone program it out in some other country, and I don't know, some genius in India can program it who's never seen a college football game, who has no bias, who doesn't know who the Alabama Crimson Tide or Notre Dame were.
Yeah.
They can just go ahead and put in a logarithm and say, based off third down efficiency, based off of points allowed, you know, and then they can formulate a strength of schedule through an algorithm. But we have the technology, and I think a lot of it right now, it's just, you know, a lot of people will say tradition, but I think it's more pearl clutching. They just don't want to give everyone a fair shake. They don't want to give everyone a fair chance because they don't, once, you know, someone has power, they don't want to give it up.
Yep.
And nor should they, you know, perhaps, you know, they should use that leverage.
Yep.
Like you've said, you know, if you have it, you got to execute that leverage.
Yep.
If they're really looking out for their own institute's best interest
Yep.
or conference's best interest. But that's all I had. Go for golf.
All right,
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Fight on, Jose.
Fight on.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful call. Again, bunch of beautiful calls. Edward the Auburn Tiger, Jose, fight on, Rick. I appreciate you guys calling. I do appreciate the donations that have come in. Very humbled. Evil Badger, OPD Don, Heartbreak 25, Christopher Hooter, and Osceola Trucka. Again, if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe and ring that notification bell. We're going to be coming on live Thursday, February 19th. I do think we're going to hear about the Big 12 situation here pretty soon and their attempt at that private capital deal with Redbird Capital. So when that news breaks, we're going to be covering every inch of it and everything else that goes on in college football. I want to thank you all for joining us. I do appreciate it. I'm very humbled that you'd all join us here on a Wednesday, February 18th. 2 days away. 2 days away from my mother, the Alabama Crimson Tide fan. 2 days away from being 93 years old. Her birthday is February 20th. That's going to be a Friday. My wife's birthday is February 20th. They both have the same birthday. So 2 days away. Buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's peek around the corner to all of you, please, y'all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.